Hi everyone. It is the beginning of the week of Monday the 14th through February the 20th. It is Valentine's Day. Today my husband is at work, so I'm getting to color. So I've been working on this and kind of coming up with an idea of how I want to color it, and I wanted to just kind of say, number one, this is going to be a really simple coloring job. It is all going to be Crayola colors only. Actually, these are probably not even going to be used. I'm going to put them over to the side. But there's your set of colors that we'll be using to create a gold, kind of like a jewelry box is what I was thinking. You know, those small little brass or gold jewelry boxes. My mom had one. It had a lot of embossing on it. You know, it was like almost like the top was stamped and it was all ridged and everything. And it just made me think about that. So that's what I started doing down here. And well, of course, we started over here putting the colors together. So just to kind of go through the colors if you're interested. Now, I have done plenty of gold in using Prismacolors, which would be perfect for this book. But I don't want to go disturb the small Prismacolor set that I have because it's a curated set. It's a set that I specifically have put off to the side for Ivy and the Inky Butterfly. And so I don't really want to go through those and use them. And one of the things that this technique really calls for is really, really sharp little points to be able to get a lot of this detail. And so I'm going to be sharpening these again and again, and Crayolas are a lot cheaper than Prismacolors. Now, unfortunately, and it's always the, you know, kind of the flip of the coin, so to speak, is that you have your colors that are like the Crayolas that are much more budget friendly, incredibly budget friendly, especially if you find them on sale for 30% off at Michael's, like I did for $100 and get it for like $13 or something like that. They're very budget friendly, but you can't buy them individually. Your better sets or your more artist grade type sets, much more in the way of expense to buy the set. But the best thing is that if you use certain colors over and over again, you can always replace those colors individually. So, you know, it's always hard. I mean, you always need to go with what you can afford. These Crayolas are behaving beautifully in this book, and I am getting a really cool aged gold look, which is what I wanted. And so I'm really happy, and I know that, you know, if I end up using this whole pencil for this, I actually have 2 more sets of Crayolas in storage. So this is, you know, if I use all of this bronze yellow down, you know, down to the nub or whatever, I just might not color with bronze yellow for a while, but I know I have 2 more in storage. And to go out and pay $13 to get a whole new set, it's not that bad. However, I will say this, that one of the reasons I also wanted to use these Crayolas is they hold a point, and you don't eat up as much of the pencil to get the type of point that I need here. And you'll see that as we go along. I'll show you that. But I just want to go through the colors that we're going to be using. If you have Crayolas and you're interested in trying to play around and figure out a gold and how it works for you, we're going to start off with, now I kind of went back and know what I use for gold in Prismacolors and was kind of thinking about it. And I'm going to use golden yellow to be kind of my canary yellow equivalent. So we're going to use golden yellow, and then we're going to come in with my black, just a plain old black. Then you follow up with the dark chocolate. Chocolate, perfect for Valentine's Day. And then I'm actually using antique brass, and that's kind of what is funny. I know my mom had something like this when I was growing up, and I think this that she had that was similar, it was an oval, it wasn't a heart-shaped jewelry box, at least that's what she put her rings in it. That it was really interesting because it was actually brass, it wasn't gold, because I remember her having me polish it once, and I had to use Brasso, so it didn't polish up very well. It has many crevices as this. It was hard to get the Brasso back. Anyway, it was a whole thing. But we're gonna then use antique brass, and then I have here yellow or bronze yellow, and then our 2 other yellows we're gonna go, and these kind of remind me a little bit of deco yellow and cream color, but they're still a little bit more, there's not really a good cream in this set. There's unmellow yellow, which is my lightest color. And then the one I kind of equate to well, maybe deco yellow is daffodil. I love daffodil. It's actually one of my favorite Crayola colors. And so those are going to be our pencils we're using. You can see I did a little circle and did the shading to see how well I'm going for that real brassy deep color, which you're seeing here. Overall, I'm not going to make you sit through this whole thing going through. What I think I'm going to do is pick an area. We can start working on that area. I'll go through the color combination and how I go back in and darken and of course tweak and all that. But that is all it's going to be, and we're just putting an edge to it. Again, it's going to be my jewelry box for Valentine's Day week. So hope everybody's having a nice one. I do send very kind regards out to everybody, and I'm so excited that you're here every week. I loved what we did last week. Now I'm getting really excited about some things. But this is going to be just sit and listen to audiobooks and just use these lovely seven colors, and just make this thing come alive. So I hope you'll join me. And for right now, I'm going to let you go enjoy. I've already done about 30 minutes worth of work on it today. And then I will bring you back when I'm a little bit further ahead and further along. And then we'll kind of go through how I'm making this look. So I want to make sure I have the technique down really, really well before I explain what I'm doing. Plus, we probably could have a little chat this week. This week, we might be able to have a chat. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. So as you can see, I have been working on this. It is going to be a really simple page, and I'm not going to do tons and tons of videoing because once I show you the process, then that's kind of all that I'm doing. I am loving the simplicity of this with only the, 7 pencils that I have, but also just the depth of it. And it's coming out to have kind of that raised jewelry box feel of an embossed or kind of box, which I'm really happy with. So I am enjoying this. The good news is that this is not taking near as long as other pages because come Friday, I'm not going to have any more time to do any coloring. So the timing was really good. On Friday, we're going to be heading out to go see my son for the week, or our son. I always say my son. It took 2 to tango. So anyway, I will be working on that. So today I thought I would just go ahead and show you one of the spots that I'm going to, how I've done all of this up to this point. It is the same repeated over and over to get this look. So the first thing that I've been doing, let me get a little sip of tea here. The first thing that I do is grab my and I just go ahead and pull what's called golden yellow here and remember these are Crayolas. Now, in general, I'm really good, having to keep these sharpened, but when I do my first little layer, what I do is I just kind of go around and do a layer of yellow. And usually that's all in between. Let me bring you down. I'll bring you down, down. All right. So that's kind of what I'm doing first, is just putting this first layer, and I'm just going to go in here and I go in between those kind of curly bits because those need to be like the highest or the brightest point. Those little vines, we'll call them vines or stems, the stems. I then look at it like a heart like this, and I'm just putting down yellow in the part that I think is going to be particularly darker for right now. So I'm kind of thinking the curve of it, the higher point might be here, the lower part over there, and I'm doing this pretty lightly, just kind of sketching out all the darker sides. Darkest side of life. Putting that yellow on that side, leaving this part clear right now with no color on it. Here again, we're making the little, this part, the high part, this part, the low part. So and it doesn't have to be the same on each one because these would be all hitting light differently. So but I've been having fun doing these in sections. So like this was a section, this little bit was a section. I only did half over here. It really allows, when I know of the time that I have, to not do the whole thing in one color. So that was golden yellow, I think. Yeah, golden yellow. And now I'm going to come in and I am going to go ahead and sharpen this. And I'm going to use the black here. Again, Crayolas only. And I want to get a pretty sharp little point. Now, I just use these handheld. I can't think what the name of them is right now. And these have done really well. KUM is the brand. I had about 4 of these or 5 of these. They're magnesium. They've got a little razor. You could replace that razor in there for the sharpener. However, they are fairly inexpensive, but I love them because they're easy to take places, and they don't do your sharpener where you have this long point. And so instead I can get in there and really get a really short, good point that I then use. And there is a reason for this. And actually I need to go get my glasses. Hold on. So I got my glasses and I brought you in closer. So what I'm doing is just going outside her line that she's drawn and try to get as close as I can. So let me just, and I'm just putting a very thin line next to it. The idea being, sorry, I had to flip the page back. The idea being that this is going to be raised. So I want that shadow on either side. So I want this to be where it's recessed. It's kind of showing that this is below it. So if we look over here, that dark line really makes this little stem stand out as if it's raised up. And that's what, you know, shadow and light are the only thing that really tells us depth perception. Which is ironic that I would even be trying to do anything with depth perception when my depth perception is not very good. I have one of those. I have where I only use one eye at a time because when I was younger I had a weak eye and they patched the strong eye to try to strengthen the weaker eye. This is when I was really little. I mean, you know, since 18 months, I was wearing glasses and patches of some sort until I was 13 or 14. So they were trying to strengthen the weak eye, but what it did is train my optical nerves to only use one eye at a time. And one of the reasons that we have the depth perception we do is because we use the 2 eyes together. So like going down stairs that are graded and you can see through, whew, or stairs that don't have, like, you can really tell a difference between one stair and the other. So I have a set of stairs here in the building. When I take the stairs down to the parking garage, there is one where the way the light comes in, the last 2 stairs, it lightens the lower tread so much that it almost looks like it's even, at least. So I have a tendency to almost trip every time, like to kind of stutter step, so to speak, kind of each time that I go down those steps. Scares the wahoo out of me. I don't like heights because I can't judge them. I always think they are much further, but something in me always says you're not judging it. I think they're higher than they are. So that bothers me as well. So anything that, oh, sorry, I was completely off camera. Anything that's, that require, or a quick change in elevation kind of thing. So, you know, roller coasters are not my thing either. So yeah, it's going across bridges you can see through, because then you have the depth of the river or stream or whatever below, and depending, you know, so, and I can see that through the slats or whatever of the bridge. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. You will notice that I flip-flop this little book all over the place for this one, and it's just because it's easier for me so I can see to have the line to the over toward the left, since I'm a righty. So this way I can see where the pencil is hitting the paper and my hand doesn't get in the way. So as you can tell, this is a very long process, but yet it's easy to listen to YouTube videos or books or whatever, and it's almost meditative, and that's one of the reasons I like it. And it's interesting because you really can see it slowly change, especially now that I have these to compare it to know that's where we're going. And one of the things I try not to do, see how I have this, I will come down here with the little bit of the black as a shadow, but I'm not taking it up all the way over because that's going to be a little bit lighter, so I'll use later on a lighter color to add a tiny bit of a shadow, whereas the black is a really strong shadow. All right, I'm going to continue on with the black, do all this, and bring you back with the brown. So now that we've done all the black, now I'm going to come in with the dark chocolate color here. So let me bring you back in so you can see, and I'm doing basically the same thing, but I'm not doing it very hard, and even the black I didn't put really hard in there. And I feather it out just slightly. So by feathering, I just mean kind of like very lightly bring it out from that black line. It gives another dimension of shadow is kind of the idea. And I'll be just going around doing very similar. Now I'll even come on the inside of the line into this leaf here. And I can bring it more to the inside as well as the outside when it comes to this. And that way you get the shadows on both, because think of this as kind of curving up and over. So we're going to have shadows down here. This will be the higher part. So you need just a hint of a shadow. Now coming in here, I'm just kind of doing on the edges on one side, kind of off to the right. Again, because I want this all to feel like it has curves and raised areas. This is where all the grime would, and dirt and dust would gather, all these little tiny crevices. But yes, I'm doing it fairly light, just enough so I can see it. Largely because I am going to be building, and of course I don't want to ruin the tooth of the paper, and I don't want to put too dark down too quickly, because that is not my normal. You know, my normal is layers. Lots and lots of layers. But this is a part that, you know, I enjoy. I can have my hand fairly relaxed, and then I can just listen to whatever book, which right now I'm listening to an audio book. I'm listening to A Discovery of Witches. It is my buddy read with my friend Fiona over at Reads and Eats. It's one of her favorite books, and I needed something for fantastical February, and she suggested it. But the downside is well, the only downside is that it is actually another series. So if I get caught up into it, it's yet another series that I've added to my list of already over 50 series. But you know, it is what it is. But we shall see. I believe it's a trilogy. I'm sure Fiona will correct me down below if it's not. But I think it's a trilogy. And I kind of like trilogies because I like that you continue on. It reminds me of like the mini movie you know, not the made for movie TV series that they'll do where there's only, you know, 5 or 6 episodes. But it allows them to be a little bit more in depth with characters, and you get to spend a little more time with them. Stories develop at a more rational pace, things like that. So I always like those, what I'm going to call mini series that they have on television. And I think they're going to be doing more and more of those as we go, because, you know, with the streaming services, they can really do that. And it's a whole nother in-depth storytelling in a visual format, and I really like that. But so this one is going very well. I'm enjoying it. The narrator was doing some kind of odd things that I was picking up. I mentioned it to Fiona. We normally at least leave messages for one another on Voxer as we're reading together. That's kind of how we do our buddy read. She is over in the UK, Scotland specifically, and I'm not, so time difference and everything else, but it's great because on Voxer you can just leave like voicemail for each other and pick it up. She's normally ahead of me, and of course she knows this story better than I do, so being familiar with it. Alright, so I continue on with the brown, and I'll bring you back for the next layer. So once again, I'm done with the brown, and now we're going to be bringing in for Crayola the antique brass. And again, just kind of building up. I kind of go into the corners and bring them out just a little bit. Again, fairly light, but I go all the way back into the black. You know, kind of doing that backing up, and it's just because then the color kind of, you know, it's not as harsh of being just black. And then the brown, and that's kind of what we're going for, is a very harsh, dirty antique brass tarnished gold kind of look. About this time, because I've gone to 3, almost, well, in some cases 4 layers, I can really start feeling this, the buildup is happening, and so in the future it tells me that blending will be, you know, occurring as well. And so, but it's again very light touch. I don't want to put a lot of like harsh, if I push down hard right now, I'll get lines, and then those lines don't allow for as much of a smooth blend in the future. So just ever so lightly. And I'm going to focus on this little area because I want you to kind of look at it, because it's hard to probably tell. Like every time I do this, you're like, oh, I'm not really seeing too much. It's not a huge change, but all of a sudden you can tell where I've been with these 4 now different colors. And here where I didn't do the brown, I'll do just a little bit of a shadow of the antique brass, because it's a lighter, more yellowy color than the brown was, so it kind of blends well. So let's go over here. We haven't done anything on the inside, so now we're going to bring in just a little bit with that antique brass color. And I'm just messing around a little bit. But keeping them sharp in these little tiny details is important, because I'm trying to bring out those details, not cover them up. All right, so if you kind of look at it, this area here is a little bit darker, starting to look more like this than this area. And the same over here, I need to work a little bit longer, and it will start blending in to this more gold. Not completely, but you're starting to see that process is starting to happen ever so slightly. And it's because we're adding these colors slowly. They're not huge changes. That's what layers do, though. It does build up, but it allows you, if you do it slowly like this, you can also control a lot more. All right, I'm going to finish this up and then I'll bring you back. So what I've done is I've already brought in the Crayola. Let's see, this is the, what is that? Bronze yellow? Yeah, bronze yellow. Oh, glasses, Rebecca. That would always help. The bronze yellow. I started working in this area, so now I'm doing this part. So just to kind of show you that there is a little bit of a difference between this area and that area. It's very, very slight, I know, but this actually starts really kind of turning it like the brown, like, so I'm putting it into the brown and bringing out a little bit on this, the upper heart. It starts taking those previous layers and giving them a yellow cast, a yellow-green cast, which again, I think really is the color, that we're looking for. Now, you're like, why didn't I just start with bronze yellow and antique brass and just use those? Well, as you can tell, we really need a lot of other depths of colors. It's not just one color, and that's something that I think people don't often realize. Nothing has just one color. It would be very, very flat to our eyes. And of course, our eyes are picking up even more colors than what I can put down on here. Just like we always say with the videos and stuff, things like, it's much, much different in person, whenever, especially like I know a lot of people with inks saying it's more green, and I'm looking at it going, it looks blue to me. And it's something to do with how it's being interpreted by the camera, which is not a human eye. But if you look at anything, you can really start seeing other colors in it, like the blacks, the browns, not just the gold color. I didn't just pick up a gold pencil and say, okay, this is all gold. I might, that would be interesting to do. Like, take a color that's specifically named for something, color the whole page in it and then see what you have to do to come back in to try to add more depth. It'd be a little scary for me because it's not my normal process. As you saw, I went in with probably one of the lighter colors with the yellow and then followed with the darkest color, and then I keep building. But it'd be kind of an interesting thought. So something like if I had a raspberry, let's say I was coloring a raspberry, then I would just find the pencil that says it's raspberry, and then you just color it and you try to do as much as you can with that pencil. But you're still probably going to need to go in with a really dark purple and maybe even a blue to get some of those shadows, because even a raspberry in nature is, you know, not just raspberry color. So I think most of us know that are coloring, and I think it's what we're always trying to go for. I think the best tutorials on YouTube for me are when they really tell me about their color combinations, because sometimes there's color combinations I would not have even dreamed to use, particularly when it comes to skin tones. Mona Gates does a beautiful job of really surprising me a lot with what the colors she uses for various skin colors. All right, so now I'm going to bring in and then follow up, and then there you go. Okay. So now that we've got those colors in there, I'm going to come in with this really light, unmellow yellow, and I'm going to start going over everything. Now this is it's a creamy lemon color. It's not cream and it's not lemon. It's a creamy lemon color, like I just said. So, and I am very lightly, but just going to start coming over everything. And that's going to hit those places that I haven't hit with any color yet. And I'm just going to color this little area here so that maybe you can see it starts bringing in. And the idea is that it's also bringing out those stems that we've kind of, you know, left untouched. We've only darkened in and around them. We put all the color around them. So we want to start bringing them in. And it starts turning things a little bit. Like I said, I'm really using it where I've not put any color. So there and there and there. And then over at anything that's kind of, like I said, that what we're calling the stems. Again, pretty light. Because I don't want to push down too hard and start putting any indentations onto the page. It's getting pretty full as far as with the layers. I'll be able to do one more, and that last one will start bringing in a little bit of the blending, but we don't need perfect blending on this, because again, that's not how tarnish on items really works. As you can see, it's starting to fade in a little bit better. It's not as light looking. Not quite there yet. What I like is that there's these small sections like this, and I can get these done in a 25 to, if I just am doing this and not chatting or switching and filming and turning off and everything else, but I can get them in 25-30 minutes. I can get these sections pretty much done. So it's been a nice paced coloring, even though I feel like I've had to color a little bit. Well, I'm having to do the filming earlier than I normally would, which means overall the coloring has to be done a little bit earlier because I won't have Friday to be able to finish it up and then do my editing and of course post it in time. So I have to get that all scheduled and ready to go before we leave on Friday. And my husband is one that likes to leave early no matter where we're going. We always leave early. Not to mention I would never set this up when he's here anyways. It takes up, you know, our dining room table completely, our little tiny bistro table. All right, so that's really getting there. So now I'm going to take the yellow that we started this whole thing with and start using it more for kind of like a blending out. So I'm starting with this big piece on this. I'm coming in, and I'm not really going over the stems at this point, but I'm kind of using on the bigger stuff where the dark is to blend and then go in between as well. So like as you see right there. All right, you see it is now, let's pop out. Just with that little bit, we've really got it all looking the same. Now the one thing that I will do now, which is a little bit overkill, but I find it pops it, is I'm gonna go back in with my black and really put some of those hard edges in there and darken it up right next to a lot of these. So I'm gonna be going all the way back around again with black. And what I find, let's see if I can show it to you, when you do that, that extra little bit, and I'm pressing pretty hard at this time. I'm not worried about blending. I'm not worried about if I, mar the paper a little bit at this point, because I'm just putting in those really harsh shadows. But can you see that right there, how it stands out compared to the rest in that section? Let me just finish this up so you can kind of look. So that one's kind of standing out compared to all the other ones that we just did. And of course makes it look more like these. So that's what I'm going to do, is go back in, finish that up, just going around, like I said, pretty, but very close to the vines and the leaves, it's, and just kind of do another pass with the black, pushing harder than I did the first time. Pretty interesting. I love that it, to me, I see a huge difference between this section here and that section I just did. It really deepens it down. So I'm going to do that, and then I will finish out this page and throw in a finished picture of this. It'd be really kind of cool probably at this point, like if you wanted to make this look like it was a kind of steampunk, that this is what's covering your heart, and then turn these all into different colored gears would be another thing, with copper and silver and things. That would be something to do. And in the future, actually, that's a good idea. I might put that someplace, because that would make it look like the top has come off. And then you can see that this was all really just still gears. Or you could do the opposite, take it all off, and then you can make this very greens and very much, it's very natural and nature-like. So a lot of little possibilities. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a butterfly here down at the bottom. And how it does kind of stand out. I'm not going to do anything else with it. So basically, yeah, I'm going to do what we just did in these last 2 to 3 sections. And I will take a picture and let you see that. And I hope everybody's having a great weekend, because by the time you're watching this, I should be having a great weekend with my son and my husband. So, and even get to go see some friends. So I think that's about it for me. And for now, I will just say keep coloring those pages. Have a great weekend.